that thinks the game's lame, I'm like, oh, that's great feedback. Go tell your game captain. So all that has stopped, and the students are participating. And what's super cool about this whole leadership thing, and kind of where my heart is with it, is that before I took over this position, I've had my oldest daughter's 23 and married, and my baby just went away to college. And we've been here since the beginning, so I've seen lots of kids go through our youth ministries. And what would happen is around their junior, senior year, we'd lose them. And then they'd go to college, and they're not involved in churches, and they're not serving. And it just broke my heart. I thought, this is not how it's supposed to be. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, yeah, if you've been in youth group 6 years, you've seen the games, you've done the activities, like I could see where it would start to lose interest, especially if you're an 18-year-old guy or an 18-year-old young lady, Then I thought, well, boy, it's their time to start giving back to the younger ones, because they had phenomenal role models for them, and now they get to be those role models. And I am telling you, student by student, they are stepping up. They're phenomenal role models. They take the leadership super, super seriously. And I've just seen a buy-in for what they're doing in their ministry that I hadn't ever seen before. And I'm super proud of them. We've got 2 of our middle school girls are going to be starting a Bible study on their campus. They came to me with that, and they're getting it. They're getting it. My daughter, Hannah, took over being president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Club at La Quinta High School her junior year. And so it saw God just really blessed it. But there was a lot of kind of attacks on her, on us. People weren't happy with it. And so she got a lot of bullseyes on her from different administration and that kind of thing. And her senior year, we had a speaker come speak, and he is the principal at King's School out in Palm Springs, and just so encouraging and so affirming. And he came up to us, and he was saying, Hannah, you're doing a great job, all this stuff. And I said, yeah. I think it's really preparing her for what God has for her in the future. And he looked at me and he said, she's not being prepared. She's doing it now. And I'm like, that is so true. She has 200 students every week coming and hearing about the Word of God. She may never have a ministry that big again. And it just hit me like, these kids, we're not preparing them for something in the future. They're doing it now. They're making a difference on their campuses. They're making a difference on their teams. And it was just a shift for me to say, I'm not looking for the future. I'm saying right now, you guys are doing incredible things. You're doing phenomenal things, and you're following our Lord, where we're learning to do important things and not just urgent things. And I could not be more proud of them and their ability to take leadership that they're learning here onto their school campuses and make a difference for Christ. So that's a little bit about our leadership team. So now we're going to do our fun stuff. So, okay, ladies, our little slide here for our activity card. We have one of these every semester, and it talks about our big stuff that's coming up. First Sunday of each month following this service, from 7:45 to 8:30, we go over to The Habit, and the kids can get food from The Habit or Chipotle, any of those places, and we eat on the patios. A lot of times the parents come and join, and that's super fun. Last time we had so many, we had probably like 40. Some of you weren't even able to stay. There was no seat. So it's a super fun time, and the weather's getting nicer, so that'll be even nice. So first Sunday of each month, unless it happens to be Easter or something like that, we'll switch it. The other thing that happens every week is our Pizza with Jesus Bible study. So again, that's another thing that was totally birthed through a student's passion and God speaking to the student. Aiden came up and said, man, this Wednesday night Bible study for the adults is great, but I know the students aren't going to go to that. Can I start a Bible study? And I'm like, okay, and so I said, well, when would you like it to be? And he's like, Friday after school. And I'm thinking, Okay, so what high schoolers, what middle schoolers are going to want on a Friday night to come to the church and do a Bible study? Well, God had put faith in his heart for that, and we have every week anywhere between 20 and 25 students that come here. They're working through the book of Philippians right now. We did James and 1 Peter. So now we're doing Philippians, and it's all student-run, student-led. They put a lot of time into it. Josh, for the first time, led it last week. So that constant pipeline of student leadership and getting into the Word and influencing their peers. So that's open for all middle schoolers and high schoolers. Every Friday, we let them come at 3 o'clock to hang out, play Fortnite, the Wii, mess around, and then we do the Bible study from 4 to 5:15, and then we ask that they all be gone by 6 p.m. That evening. So those things are on the regular. Tonight's the 16th parent party. Raise your hand if you have heard of See You at the Pole. Okay, so See You at the Pole is a worldwide program, and I've got a sheet up here you guys can grab if you want more information on it. I think it says that it's 20 years this has been going on, and so around the world on the fourth Wednesday of September, students meet at their flagpoles at 7 a.m. And it's all, again, completely student-led. And what will happen is they gather and they'll say, okay, who wants to pray for our teachers? Who wants to pray for our community? Who wants to pray for our president, for the nation, for the world? And they'll just go around, and it takes about 15 minutes, and they just go around and they pray for those different things. So that's something that at every school you have. This is every school I've heard of, they have some participation in this. So encourage your students to go on Wednesday the 26th at 7 a.m. to their pole and bring some friends, and even if it's just them, they can have 15 minutes to pray for their school. And we're really excited about that. That's been a fun thing happening. So we've got more info if you'd like that. My little card. Okay. SRSM kickoff. So this is something super fun that we're doing for the first time. You guys have a card on it. And how this was birthed is that we have a lot of quite a few of our students are football players, and we've got one cheerleader too. So all the kids were like, oh, you've got to come watch my game. And the other kids are like, oh, I want to go to the game. I want to go to the game. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we picked out the big rivalry games, which are Rancho versus LQ, LQ versus PD, Rancho versus PD, and those are the games that we're going to all kind of caravan. Parents, you're more than welcome to come. The way we're doing this is we have pizza with Jesus, and then if they want to stay, we're going to leave for most games at 6:15. The PD LQ game, we have to leave much earlier in order to get seats there. Super fun. So all that information is on this card. And where are my football players? Go ahead and stand up. Where's DT's back there? And then who else? We've got Taylor, Nathaniel, my cheerleader. Where are you, Annika? There she is, nice and proud. David's a cheerleader, yeah. Shaking those Rattler pom-poms. So this is something fun, just a fun thing. Make sure, I think admission is like between $5 and $7. If you have a school ASB card, some of the other schools will let you in with that, some don't. And then whatever junk food at the snack bar. We're going to be doing that. And our first one is the Rancho versus La Quinta game at Rancho. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And David Talley is the Rancho Mirage quarterback. So, and then we've got 3 La Quinta players in our crew, so it'll be lots of fun. Lots of fun to go see that. Okay, on the 29th, can you guys show our pumpkin patch pictures? Are you able to lower the lights at all so we can see that? I don't know if you can. So what we do is we're going to meet here on the 29th at 10 a.m. It costs $20, and that includes like your tickets for, you get like X amount of tickets, and you can use that on the corn maze. There's petting zoos, there's games. Look how cute. Oh, it was so fun. So we're going to go down there, do the pumpkin patch and the corn maze. Carissa with her goat. Those goats are vicious. They leave scratches. And then my favorite part of the trip is, you'll see, next picture. Next picture. Me with the bird on my hat. That one. Those cute. Love those things. Lorikeets, yeah. So we have a sign up for this. I'm going to pass it around. So if you would like your student to do that, put your name on here, and then I'll know what kind of transportation. If you would like to go with your student and help provide transportation, you can mark that as well. So that's our fun fall activity. We've got some SRSM at the parks. Oh, the one on the 30th, due to popular demand, is our Water Wars. We're doing Water Wars again. We are. So we did our slip and slide kickball, and that was a huge hit. The students have been asking for that, so we're going to do that. And then rest of the stuff I think is pretty self-explanatory. The next thing two things that I'm going to highlight. Who has and is a junior or senior in high school? Okay. So we've got this great opportunity. Vanguard University is doing a preview day. And we're going to take a group of students down there. They get to attend a class. They get to attend a chapel, stay in the dorms. And if I have my way, there will be a beach trip somewhere in there because they're about 5 minutes away from the beach. So if you are interested in doing that, we'll turn this around for that. So that will be super fun. We went last year and had a great time. And then one of the highlights of the year that I'm going to highlight for y'all is our progressive dinner. So it is the ugly Christmas sweater, progressive dinner. Find your cute little selves in that. So what this is we charter a huge bus. You have our picture of our bus up there. Big old Cardiff bus. So you bring your friends. It's only, we're certainly not breaking even on this, but it's $5. But the big thing is, the reason why we do this is, yes, it's fun for our students, but it's a great entry point for students who aren't comfortable coming into church yet, but they'll come and do this. So what we do is, that was our pajama one. Hopefully, I didn't just show up in pajamas. We go from 4 houses, appetizer, salad, main course, dessert. Westlake's have done dessert before. Hoffman's have done appetizers and desserts and salads. You guys have done it all. So we need 4 families to sign up, and then we get on the bus. We go to your house. They're like locusts that come in. Am I correct? Yeah, that's their house. So locusts that come in, they eat everything. We play one game, and then like in 20 minutes, we're out, and you guys are left going, we made it. Appetizer, salad, main course, and dessert. So if you're interested in hosting that this year, it's Sunday, December 16th, and we'll be there about 30 to 40 minutes in your home, and there'll be about 60 people that descend upon you. So it's a real fun thing. So on the card, do you guys have any questions? I'm going to open this up to y'all. Any questions of what we do, what activities? Yes, sir. Well, this is our snack tonight. Yeah, so we don't waste anything in youth ministry, so we'll be having bologna sandwiches. No, I'm kidding. Dax. The progressive dinner, absolutely. Unless I tell you specifically, like it's for juniors or seniors, this is all middle school, high school. There's not too much that we separate them out. We do pool parties at separate locations, but the Vanguard Preview Day, they just let juniors and seniors go. Good question. Any other questions? Good? Okay. Did I cover it all? So let's get on the Remind app. We'll let you know what's going on. Keep this to plan for all our fun events and LQ games, Rancho games, lots of fun. Okay. Are we ready? We are. Senor? Okay, this is Pastor Craig, our lead pastor here, and we're going to share a mic.
All right, how's everybody doing? Fantastic. As Christy said, my name's Craig. I'm the lead pastor at Shadow Rock, and we believe in students. I was in student ministry for quite a few years, and I had several hundred students in my youth ministry and loved every minute of it. And throughout us launching this church, we've always prioritized student ministries, and we really believe in you. And throughout all of my experience in youth ministry, I would put up any group next to this group because this group is an amazing, amazing group, and it's run so well. And Christy is a slam dunk superstar when it comes to leading this particular organized chaos. So, I remember one time our church, was a larger church, and we had this world-renowned, really amazing choir director come in, and we would take hundreds of students and coach buses everywhere. And she just kind of got criticized, and it was death by paper cuts, and it was like, how come this costs so much, and why are we doing this? And, you just saw her, get so deflated over the course of time. She ended up, going off to some place that would appreciate her a little more. And part of what we want to do in our culture is really appreciate our leaders. And so this is for students, of course, but really for parents. I think you guys have an amazing opportunity to celebrate somebody that really cares about your students, that really is investing in them, that lives, talks, breathes, sleeps student ministry. And can you just express deep, deep, heartfelt appreciation, Christy Durkee? She's doing an amazing, 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 amazing job. So I invite you, gift cards, flowers, balloons, seriously, I just would love her to just feel the deep appreciation that we sincerely have here because she is, like I said, a superstar. One of the things I always do at these parent meetings is talk about our targets. We have 6 targets. It is the engine of what we do every event and for our services on Sunday evening. This is the engine that is producing these targets. And so when students graduate, we want them to know these 6 things pretty well and have instilled these characteristics. So everybody should have one of these papers. If you don't, we can pass them around. But, there's a statistic that about 66%, maybe 70% of students who are active in a church, meaning they go to church with their parents, they stop going once they get into college. And somebody challenged me on that, and I said, you know what? I just don't think that statistic is at all true for the students that come out of our student ministries because of how we orient things and why we do some of the things that we're doing. Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And so what we're trying to do is really train these students to not be just the church of tomorrow, but be the church of today. And it will really mean that. So let me just highlight these, and I want to talk about something else in our remaining time. Actually, can we each take one of these? Maybe I'll take faith, you take growth. So faith, we want students to know what they believe, why they believe it, and have a faith that will last even at difficult times. Through our Christian leadership training that happens during a week in the summer, we actually go through different world religions. We talked last summer about Islam, about Hinduism, about Buddhism. We talked about different world religions and just gave a defense of why we believe what we believe. And it's not just because, we tell students, you don't believe this just because your parents believe this. This needs to be something that you own. And so we really try to help them process through some difficult questions. And we create a safe environment here where they can ask difficult questions. Sometimes there's just this conformity and everybody kind of, has the same answer. Well, you read the Bible and pray, and it's we want students to ask the tough questions. Many of our students are in calculus and algebra and really, really difficult classes. We don't want to dumb down the Christian faith. We want them to engage it intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, mentally. And so we're really trying to highlight that as much as we can. So that's faith.
Okay, and growth kind of goes along with that. A lot of times I'll have students come up and they'll say, they call me Miss Durkee because the big boys make them. So they'll say, Miss Durkee, now the Bible says and it says this and it doesn't quite make sense to me. And so, I could easily just, rattle off an answer to him. I say, well, what do you think about that? Why do you think that says that? What's the context that this is being placed in? Who's their audience? Who's the author? Like these kinds of questions and then they'll say, well, I think, and then they'll get into it, and then I'll say, oh, someone else in the room, okay, so what's your thought on that? So this whole thing, like, we don't want them to leave here and go to college and have no idea how to have their own personal relationship with the Lord. How does that happen? Well, here we're guiding them through that process, but we're not spoon-feeding them. And they'll have questions, and they'll come up with it, and they'll talk about it with each other. This happens in our small group time. This happens at our Pizza with Jesus Bible study, where instead of the adults in the room just giving them another sermon, so what do you think? Now, Josh, what do you think about that? And Dylan, now how's that applied in your life? So really having them from middle school on take responsibility for their own personal growth. And I just think, our middle school girls starting the Bible study, our high school guys starting, like all this is because we're saying, you're not preparing for the future, you're doing it now. And all the resources that Pastor Craig gives us that we have to enable these students and empower them, they're taking it and they're running with it.
Awesome. So the next one is faithfulness. We want students to just show up. 90% of life is just showing up. We want them to show up, and what I mean is not just attend, but get involved in church ministry and volunteering, to be faithful, to a church, to be faithful to volunteer and add value to that church. And so we're teaching students to have a lifelong commitment to Jesus' mission. Sometimes people come to me and they say, well, I don't need to go to church in order to love Jesus. And that may be true, but you need to go to church to love the things that Jesus loves. And you need to go to church in order to be a part of Jesus' mission. And I think this is such a crucial backbone of some of the things we do here in student ministry, because we really are training students to have a lifelong commitment to Jesus' mission, a lifelong commitment to just be faithful kinds of people and honor the Lord in that way.
Our next one's purity, and I love that I got this one because this is a huge deal for me. And all the students know, like, I care so much about who they date and what their romantic life looks like. All these students will know that. Yes, Logan? Uh-huh. The big kids especially, but even down to the little ones, I care very much because I know what a critical decision that can be with who you choose to link up with romantically. And so anytime I start, and they're all, running about. Okay, so prime example of this, because they all know this. So we're at the FCA Club Rush, and I hear Aiden over there with Logan. So Aiden, raise your hand in case they don't know. Logan down there with the football. So I hear Aiden's like, Logan, I'm going to tell Miss Durkee. Logan's like, no, don't tell her. And so they come over to me, and Aiden's like, Miss Durkee, Logan, he likes this girl, and he's been he's liked her for a long time, but she doesn't love Jesus. And so, atheist, perfect. So I'm like, Logan, come here, buddy, come here. And he's heads down. He's heads down. Put my hands on his shoulders. I'm like, listen, Logan, this is what I tell all of them. This is what I told my kids. It's okay if you like someone that doesn't love Jesus, but you cannot like them. All you say is, hey, come to my church, come to my youth group. And so if they'll come to your church and come to your youth group, and over time, if they make that decision for Christ, then you're able to go to the next step. But we don't go to that next step until they love Jesus. So I'm constantly up in their business about everything, and they will all attest to that, because I just think it can be the best thing when you have two Christians that say, this is how we're going to live our life in a romantic relationship. We're going to honor God, and we can be an example to the littles below us. And this is what we're not going to do. And they have a great team of support around them. Like you just saw, Aiden was like, oh, no, we're not doing that, buddy. I love you too much. So it's a big deal here, and it's all through relationship and that kind of expectation of what their lives are going to look like when they start dating.
Awesome. Yeah, integrity is doing the right thing even when it's hard. Friendship. We want students to have great friendships. We teach students conflict management. How do you deal with conflict in a relationship? How do you have life-giving, long-lasting relationships that really do matter? And so we have small group environments where students are able to talk and interact together and we laugh and we have fun and we have an amazing event schedule just because we're trying to develop something pretty special here that really is tied around friendships. We just feel like that is an essential part of what Jesus has asked us to do. Not only are we loving God, but we're loving others as Christ loved us. And so it is vital for us just in the DNA even of our entire church, but certainly in our student ministry.
And the leadership part, I already spoke on a lot. One thing that we say frequently is our desire is not to protect our students from the world, but to prepare our students. And I really believe that verse, that greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And when we send the students out prepared, they're able to make a difference. And if we try to protect them, well, college is coming, graduation's coming. You know, you could be a senior or you could be a sixth grader, but like that, you're going to be out on your own, and we want them prepared for that.
Yeah, it's pretty vital, and one of the things I just want to celebrate that Christy does, I mean, you saw the 4 crews that came on up here. This is really student-driven. It was a student up here on the microphone leading the games. It's students back there on the computers. It's students, you know, organizing some of this stuff, and Christy really does a great job with putting a lot of that together. So those are our 6 targets: faith, growth, faithfulness, purity, friendship, and leadership. And so if your student is a part of this student ministry, your student is growing in each one of those areas. So, and we're very, very excited about the students that we ultimately produce and send off to either a career or college environment. And I wanted to talk to you about one last thing, and this is something that I want you to really pray about and think about as a family. We have 2 kind of significant worship events every Sunday morning. We call them, they're at 9:30 and they're at 11. And we call those worship events, sometimes we call them what? A service, right? So sometimes people are like, you know, hey, I'm going to come in on Sunday morning and, you know, it's just going to be so great and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy and I'm not going to get involved. Well, the problem is we call that a worship service. Meaning that we are there to serve. And one of the things that we want students to do, we've made, well, first of all, let me celebrate the students here because I know our church could not survive without the students' involvement here. They're involved in our hospitality ministry. They're essential, absolutely essential in our kids' ministry. You see how much they're doing here. They are vital, and we really try to incorporate them into what we're doing on Sunday morning. But here's the thing. We want students to have a lifelong commitment to church, to being active in a church. And one of the things that we began to identify is we had students who were so excited about being together and serving together that they never attended a church service. And it became a little bit of a concern for us because we projected that model forward, and we just all agreed that we're not preparing them to be active in church once they go to college because they won't have that immediate place of involvement and they won't have that community of friends and they've never had that experience of just attending a church service. And so we began to set up some parameters around that where we said we want students to only serve one Sunday a month, meaning both services are 9:30 and 11 o'clock service a month, or one service a week, so they could attend a service and then serve a service. And we got some pushback, I'm not lying. So, you know, it's hard, and we didn't want to make it kind of a punitive thing, but we felt like it was so essential because, again, we're preparing students for kind of a lifelong commitment to church, a lifelong commitment where they're going to add value to a church's mission. And one of the difficulties we're having is parents, you know, sometimes aren't kind of in that same mindset. And so they'll just come and they'll attend maybe a 9:30 service. And you don't have to come here. Maybe you go to Southwest or another church, which is fine. But your family kind of comes for a 9:30 service, and then you leave, and there's not really that opportunity for that student to serve or attend a service. Does that make sense? And so lots of families were like, well, okay, you can attend this service and then serve the next service, and then we'll come back and pick you up, and that's fine. But here's one thing I guess I just want to plant in your mind. What if you started to approach this as a family commitment? What if you said as a family that we're going to attend a service and we're going to serve a service, and that we're going to be a part of service? Or, and we have all kinds of different levels, I know, at our church with service and different commitments, and some people serve once a month, some people serve every other week, some people serve, one service. They'll serve the 9:30 and then attend the 11 o'clock service. That's why I love the two-service model, and we'll never go away from that. But I guess I wanted to have a little bit of feedback, and certainly we can dialogue about this. What if you kind of embrace this as an entire family commitment, and you partnered with this commitment that said, we want our student, when they graduate, to not only, serve, but attend and just be a part of a worship service. And we're trying to create proactive ways that we can allow students to kind of hang out between services. Like we might set up the youth room with snacks and kind of have a hangout place for some of our volunteers, and they can get in there and play Fortnite between the services or something like that. We're just trying to think creatively. How can we allow environments where our students can just be together, but then they can kind of go and serve, or they can go and attend a service? And one of the things that we're trying to do, even on a Sunday morning, this morning I had a high school senior team preach with me the message. We're trying to involve students into what we do on a Sunday morning, because we want them to know this isn't the adult service, this is your service. And we're trying to talk about things that are really practical to their life and just add value to their life, because, again, we're trying to train them to have a lifelong commitment to church, so that when they go to college, they just, of course I'm going to go to church. It's a no-brainer, because that's what I've always done, and I have that pattern instilled in my life. So I guess, I'd love to dialogue a little bit about you. I'd love to just maybe plant that in your mind as something you can pray about. We've got great little areas where people can serve, and I'm sure no matter what church you're a part of, if you're part of Southwest or Church 212 or one of the other churches, there are probably similar environments where you can serve a service and attend a service. Because there is something, we want people to always serve kind of out of that overflow of their life, and we want to always allow that investment into their life as well. So students, parents, any dialogue about that? Let's Q&A just a little bit about this, because I really want to process it with you. We're still kind of loosely processing this, but we want to know how to serve best your family and how to best prepare our students to kind of have this lifelong commitment to church. Any questions, thoughts? Brian, you had a question. Help me out. Brian. I was actually thinking of coming up here and just taking a piece of that bologna and eating it, and everybody would be, no, I'm not going to do it. No. Yes. We do not right now have a worship team for our youth group, but we're not opposed to that. Emma, what are you doing back there? And, again, we want students to kind of be involved, and we're kind of looking at ways that we could facilitate that well. And we've even looked at, we have students that are involved on our Sunday morning worship team. We have all kind of part-time staff, so we need to kind of figure out who could be an adult mentor for that and who could kind of help coach and facilitate some of that ministry. So I think it's been something we've been dialoguing about off and on over the last several years even. So certainly not opposed to it. Yeah. Usually we allow that summer
and I'd love to talk about that. For me, I feel that students being in the Sunday morning service is critical. And, I'm not specifically sixth grade or not, but overall, in general, it's critical. What we do here Sunday night does not replace Sunday morning at all. The cool thing is, as Pastor Craig talked about, he's been involved in youth ministry. So I can easily tell the students, hey, make sure you're in the service, because I know that the way that he delivers messages and the content, they're going to be able to get something out of. And it sets a culture. Like if I were to say, check us out on shadowrockchurch.com, everybody's life would be better with God in it. So there's all this culture that happens Sunday morning that we bring back here. And one fun example of that is a couple months ago, Pastor Craig spoke about Jonathan and David, and that they were armor bearers. And so frequently, the students who heard that message, I'll say, he's your armor bearer. And what do they say back? Heart and soul. Okay, so that all happened in that message that they're still using to this day. So I think, and I tell the students, I want them to understand they're part of something much bigger than the youth group. And I think that when students just attend a youth group and there's all this super fun games and we give them candy and it's donuts and it's fun, yes, the Word of God is preached and we don't go light on that at all. But then they go to college, there's no youth group, or they go into the workforce at 18 or 19. And so for me personally, it's a big deal that the students are in the service. It's 1 hour, so I've just seen the benefits of the students who are in here, really, again, preparing them for what they're doing has been great.
And again, I have years and years and years and years of experience with kids go to Christian school. Love that, but I promise you, it's not preparing them for active. Sometimes parents are like, well, my kids go Sunday night to youth group. But it's not necessarily preparing them for once they come out of this environment and head off to college, because they'll go to an adult service and they're like, well, this isn't my service. So, and just going on Sunday morning, I don't think that, it kind of becomes kind of this, like a school, what we're trying to establish, where they need to be active in church, they need to be active in youth group, they need to be active in volunteering. All three of those things. Great comments. Thanks so much. Again, we want this to be partnership, so it's not like, here's what we're doing, guys too, how can that help and serve point our targets?
So,
Still looking at the balloon.
yeah, the baloney still hasn't moved. Yes, Rebecca.
And we're trying to not make it punitive. You gotta go to church. We're trying to make it positive. We've had like cupcakes on their seats, and having them come up and do different things, like the same food presentation you saw. We're going to do that on an upcoming Sunday. We really want students to feel like, hey, this is my service. I can engage with this. Something kind of collectively, we're talking about culture, like Christy said. Part of that.
And one thing too, for the students, I'd like to hear your input. Would it be more fun, we've talked about, and in the past we've done it, and at Pastor Craig's other church, where it's like a student section, so they all get to sit together? Or do you guys prefer to sit with your families? Or, what are your thoughts on that? Haven, what are your thoughts? Do you want to sit with your family, or would you rather sit with the crew? Yeah. Sit next to Ada Miller. Yes. You like to have a little area for you guys? Faith. Okay. Yeah, because we've done that. Like when I do announcements or something, and you guys are part of it, we'll specifically ask you guys to be up front. Okay. Sitting next to me, Logan. That's right. Any other thoughts on that?
Is there anything we could do, and this maybe is targeted to students? We love it that you guys love hanging out, but obviously we can't have like 12 teenagers. We want to use them to get our kids focused. But we're trying to foster some of those. Is there a way to do that, or have you thought about setting up? Positives of continuing to involve.
Go ahead, Logan. Yeah? You think we're perfect? Do you like sitting with your fam, or do you like sitting up like with the crew? Yeah. Yeah. Our hostess, ding dongs.
Yeah, if those aren't there, then
Forget it. Yeah. There's only so much you can listen to. Yeah.
I know, really.
What's that, Logan? Honestly, yeah. Right. So when Pastor Craig uses the word but, you guys can all sit there and laugh your heads off.
You never know what I'm going to say.
Exactly. I heard, never mind. Any other?
Paul, you had a comment? All right.
Hit us. The baloney's not moving. Thank you, guys. So in a minute, we're going to dismiss for our nacho bar. And I'm going to have these. I know, I just lost you. Shh. Oh, I know. I'll just ask you guys a really hard question. That makes you get quiet. Okay, so I'm going to have these clipboards up here. So if you're interested in our Vanguard